5 minutes past 7. It was 7:11 in the evening when Maya smelt machine oil and peppermint and knew, without looking up, that her father was in the doorway. She froze. He wasn't supposed to be anywhere near her kitchen. The last message she had from him, sent at 4 that afternoon, said, "On the road now. Long drive ahead. Don't wait up." He was meant to be hundreds of miles away, well into his journey. She had pictured him in some roadside diner, pushing a bad cup of coffee across a sticky counter, not standing here in her kitchen as if he had only come in from the garden. She turned, and there he was. No glow, no mist, no trick, just her father, coat collar up, hair untidy, one hand in his pocket. Ordinary, but impossibly present. "Dad," she said, her voice caught between relief and alarm. "What on earth are you doing here? You're supposed to be—" She stopped. The word traveling jammed in her throat. He smiled faintly. "I thought I'd stop in." Through the open window came the sounds of an ordinary evening. The faint thrum of a neighbor's mower finishing its work, the bark of a dog, dishes being stacked next door. The television in the flat across the road leaked a canned laugh track into the air. All ordinary, all unchanged, except for him. The kettle muttered on the hob. A draft slipped along the kitchen floor, catching his coat. He noticed it, as he always noticed drafts and ill-fitted doors. Maya set her own mug down very carefully, as though too sharp a movement might scatter him. "You can't be here," she said, because it was the most sensible sentence she could form. "And yet," he said with the faintest shrug, "here I am." She blinked at him, searching for logic. But logic seemed unnecessary in the face of what her eyes, nose, and ears told her. The oil and mint smell, the scuff on his sleeve, the little notch in his ear from the wrench accident years ago. It was him. She reached, almost without thinking, for another cup. "Coffee. That would be nice," he said, settling at the small table. His voice had the tone of someone making himself comfortable in a house that was already his. She poured. 1 spoon of sugar, no milk. Exactly as he liked it. She pushed the cup towards him and watched his fingers curl round it. Later, she would wonder whether she had seen him actually sip, or only thought she had. But in the moment, the steam shifted when he bent his face over it, as if acknowledging the warmth. "You've fixed that cupboard," he said, nodding toward the one that had always slammed. "You told me how." "Over the phone." "Over the phone," he repeated, smiling faintly, as if the phrase itself interested him. Wires carrying words back and forth. The microwave clock showed 7:11. The green numbers held fast, reluctant to move. Maya folded her arms. "Dad, what happened? You're supposed to be hours away." "Things altered," he said calmly. "I'll finish it in due course." "Did you turn back? Did you break down?" She was reaching for sense, practical explanations. He didn't answer. Instead, he leaned back, brisk now, as though checking tasks from a list. "A few things, if you don't mind. I won't stay long." "Go on," she said, though the words felt absurd, like giving permission to someone who needed none. "Ring your mother early," he said. "She won't sleep, but she'll pretend she has. She should hear your voice first." "I will. The attic light. It isn't the bulb, it's the switch. Replace the plate, or it'll vex you." "I'll change it." "And your brother. He'll talk about selling the blue toolbox." "Don't let him. Tell him it's worth more than the contents. He'll understand." Maya nodded, each detail lodging itself in her memory like a nail hammered down. It was odd, practical, not sentimental, but that was his way. "And you," he added, turning his gaze full on her. "You've carried too much alone. Use a trolley when you need one. Leave what you can't carry. Do you hear me?" She tried to laugh, but her throat was tight. "I hear you." Silence pressed in for a moment. The kettle ticked as it cooled. He cradled the cup, looking around the kitchen with the quiet satisfaction of a man surveying a job nearly done. "How long can you stay?" she asked suddenly. Her voice sounded like a child's, small and frightened. He glanced at the clock, still stubbornly at 7:11. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. She leaned forward, desperate. "Why only 5?" He didn't answer. He placed his palm lightly on the table, the way he always did to test if a surface was level. His eyes drifted toward the back door, listening to something she could not hear. The silence between them thickened. "Dad," she whispered. Why only? But he gave no reply. He broke the silence instead with a small smile. We never went back to the milkweed field behind the baseball diamond. Always meant to. The light there, in the late afternoon, it was a good light. We can still go, she said quickly. Too quickly. You'll go, he corrected gently. Take your brother. He'll say no twice, yes the third time. She bit her lip. The kettle gave a tiny, settling pop. One more thing, he said almost sheepish. I'm sorry about your school play. The B1. I should have been in the audience, not hiding in the corridor. You sent flowers, she said. Chrysanthemums, he muttered, grimacing. Entirely wrong. Your mother never let me forget it. We kept them, she said. They lasted a long time. He smiled, warm but brief. Then he stood, pushing the chair back carefully, as if unwilling to scrape the tiles. That's my cue. Already. She heard the panic in her own voice. You said 5 minutes. Why only? Again, he didn't answer. He just rested a finger on the rim of his cup, a silent gesture, and looked at her the way he had looked when teaching her to drive. Steady, unwavering. Ring your mother first, he said. Then the electrician. Then your brother. In that order. I will. And Maya? Yes. I love you. He said it like tightening a final bolt, plain, necessary, and in place. She swallowed. Drive safe. The phrase was automatic, foolish, but he smiled at it all the same. And then he was gone. Not vanished in smoke, not dissolved into air, just gone, as if he had walked into another room and closed the door softly behind him. The microwave clock blinked 7:15. The telephone rang at 7:16. The shrill sound tore the air in half. Maya lifted the receiver, relief flooding her. Of course, it was him, explaining everything. But instead of his voice, a woman's careful, professional tone said, Miss Whitaker, I'm afraid there's been an accident. Your father was in a collision this evening. Despite the doctor's efforts, he was pronounced dead at 7:16 p.m. Maya's chest collapsed. Dead, she gasped. No, that's impossible. He was just here. Minutes ago. We had coffee. He spoke to me. There was a pause, filled with the faint background noise of a ward. I'm very sorry, the woman said again, steady but shaken. But the time of death is confirmed. 7:16 p.m. The receiver slid from Maya's hand, clattered against the cupboard, and hung on its cord. The voice went on, small and relentless, from the floor. Maya stumbled back to the table. Her father's cup stood where he had left it. The steam no longer rose, but when she touched the rim, it was still warm. Her mother arrived within 20 minutes, coat flung over her shoulders, hair damp from washing up. They called me too, she said at once, gripping Maya's arms with cold hands. It's true. He's gone. No, Maya shook her head violently. No, he was here. Just now. She pointed at the table, her hand trembling. He told me about the attic switch. He told me to call you. He drank coffee in this kitchen. Her mother's eyes darted to the cups. She touched one rim with a shaking hand, felt the lingering warmth, and recoiled. How can he be dead? She whispered hoarsely. When you just had coffee with him? The kitchen stood in silence. The clock blinked 7:17. They sat, mother and daughter, through the longest 20 minutes of their lives. The world outside went on as if nothing had happened. Children laughing in a nearby garden. The hum of a lawnmower shutting down, a car horn blaring in irritation. Everything normal, except that the man they both loved had been here at 7:11, gone at 7:15, and declared dead at 7:16. Later, when her brother arrived, when the paperwork was confirmed, when the hours turned heavy with grief, Maya would write down the times on a pad by the telephone. 7:11, he appeared. 7:15, he left. 7:16, the call came. 5 minutes. Long enough to drink coffee, to give instructions, to say goodbye. Not a second more.